There is nobody saying talk is not good, though talk could be cheap. Note that. However, what we are saying is that by this action, to me, there's been some revelation, either good or otherwise, from Mr. President. He has revealed to the whole world that we do not have legislators at the National Assembly, but businessmen or layabouts, with due respect to them. If we get to a system like in England where the parliament discussion and debates are always on air, you show them where the assembly is running, then people will know that that place is not a joking arena.
Bobby solution.
All this issue of Boko Haram, of power and co, lies in our so-called elected representatives at the National Assembly. We have given them that mandate, but they rather choose and prefer oversight responsibilities of ministries. The moment you reduce the salaries of those at the National Assembly and all these extra-code overnight duties, and have people who have the love of the nation in there, we will face and address issues squarely. Mr. President has set up this advisory committee. The advisory committee, I also expect them to inform Mr. President, sir, this national dialogue might be an aberration or a disrespect to the rule of law. Your existence is by virtue of the Constitution. In order to alter the Constitution or amend, this is what the Constitution says can be done. These are the steps. Let us go and pursue all these things through the National Assembly.
But that's exactly where I'm coming from. The president clearly said, Mr. Odutola, that the national dialogue, whatever will come up after that conference or dialogue, so to say, will be subjected to the National Assembly. David Mark, our Senate president, was the first person that said we need to talk. We must have the national conference. You must also accept that all the members of the National Assembly stay as representatives from their federal constituencies. But you must also accept that there are Nigerians who are key, which is why we don't know the framework the national the advisory committee is going to come up with on how we are going to elect members or appoint those who are going to dialogue. No, we're going to have key people who will not have ordinarily have had the opportunity of sitting in the National Assembly, or who will think that they cannot go to the National Assembly because they have passed that level. Are you understanding where I'm coming from? But there are key people whose voices cannot be ignored and whose opinions cannot be ignored. They will sit down and talk. And then after talking, they will take it to the National Assembly for ratification. Then you can go for a referendum. The president has not in any way removed the powers of the National Assembly.
Can a woman commit abortion after delivery of the baby?
It's not possible. But that's not exactly what's happening. No, that's not it. If you take it to the National Assembly, there are areas, you must accept that there are areas they must have to tinker with.
The baby in this...
That's the truth. There are areas that some people can, out of passion, they can rightly say, okay, like you were not here when I said it. What if they come up with the fact that, okay, we are not going to operate the federal system of government anymore. We're going back to the parliamentary system of government.
Can I make a response
to
that?
Then?
I want to respond to that.
What happens if they do that?
We should divest ourselves of this gratuitous generosity in the name of governance. Is the government now thinking or giving the impression that it knows best what is good for the people, so that if the people, by whatever assembly, come up with something different, what is going to be their problem? Is that because that's the way you are posting? If the assembly or conference should come forward to say there should be no more elections, the people, of course the Bible says it. The people say the Lord, Lord, but their heart is far removed from the Lord. If democracy, the bourgeois, the capitalists, they talk of democracy. If actually it's democracy, are they claiming to be wiser than the people? They know the people, what the people want. Of course, I mean, honestly, the more I reflect about it, I just wonder. For some time, I've stopped making appearances in television, something like this, because I realized that Nigeria, we are not even ready to address the brass tack. I mean, I feel ashamed every day. How can a nation that is this stupendously rich in human and natural resources, intellect, everywhere, Nigerians are everywhere all over the world, and we cannot make ordinary things work? To get from Baja this morning to this place, a distance of maybe less than 2 kilometers, I spent over 1 hour. Is that normal? You have a country that had functional railways before independence. Now today, everything is collapsed. We make more money now. These are fundamental issues. My own appeal to ordinary Nigerians is that we should stop following these elements. I mean, these elements, they do not mean well for us. There is no how much more money we make, Nigeria will always be subjected, to greater hardship. Under the simple economics we were taught in secondary school, that the law of comparative advantage. If you have something in abundance, that means you should be better off in it. Nigeria is an oil-producing country. We are the only major oil-producing country in the world that cannot process enough fuel and gas that we are using in the country. You talk of derivation. The derivation thing you are talking is not even derivation. You are just talking about how to share the tax. Because up to today, since 1956, when commercial oil process started from Olobiri in Rivers State, the processing, the exploitation, everything is dominated by multinationals, by capitalist multinational countries. So when you talk of this derivation, what you are saying is that, okay, if $1 is being paid to the federal government, now 50 should be paid to the Niger Delta. And we have seen the futility of all this so-called power, rotation of power. Obasanjo was president for 8 years. There is no reasonable Westerner, Southwesterner, that can say that by virtue of that they benefited. Jonathan is president now. He's going to 4 years now, or 6 years, if you count the 2 years he spent before. I was literally weeping when I went to Rivers recently. The level of devastation. And don't forget it, the elite have given up on the country.
Well,
we are
just. Did you see?
Port Harcourt, the Rivers. I don't know how long you visited Port Harcourt or any of my colleagues here.
Recently.
When?
It was just
3-4 weeks ago.
Okay, so how did you see the roads? Where did you deny the fact that polythene bags were used as arrival and departure centers, all in the name of repairing? You said?
That's the airport.
You mean the canopy?
The canopy, yes.
Is polythene bag.
What is it? What is it?
Because the airport has been renovated.
It's been,
being renovated.
When I was coming back to Lagos in the plane, I met a white person, and I was reading Nigerian newspaper. I discussed with him. I said, all what the oil multinationals are just interested. They have given up on the country. They just come in, siphon the money, and go out. Are they not aware of the whole facade that is going on? That is why we are saying that Nigeria needs to take themselves. If we agree tomorrow that every Nigerian must be given education, every Nigerian must be given job, every Nigerian must be given decent accommodation, all of these things that are falling apart can start coming together because we have what it takes.
I think one note he has agreed with me is that abortion cannot be committed once a baby has been delivered. The baby I referred to in that analogy is the Constitution.
Of course, I know that.
Fine. And with the Constitution at hand, you must go by the tenets and the provisions of the Constitution to respect the rule of law.